Welcome to Boston Asian American Film Festival's Filmmaker Q&A for Takeout Girl. I'm Susan Chinson, BAAFF's Festival Director and Creative Producer at Arts Emerson, and have the honor of moderating today's conversation. We are so happy to have with us today several members from the cast and crew of Takeout Girl, including Alberto Triana, the Director of Photography, Editor, and Producer, Hedy Wong, co-writer, lead actress, and producer, Melissa Del Rosario, producer, and Hisonni Mustafa, writer, director, editor, and producer. Welcome, everyone. So excited to see all of you here.
Hi. Thank you for having us.
Fantastic. So excited to be presenting this film. Just to share with you, the screening committee had such rave reviews about your film, and I hope everyone who's coming into this from having seen this can understand why. It was such a compelling story and beautifully done. The photography, everything, production value was so amazing. The depth of the writing into the personalities that were shared with us had so much depth and character to them. It was just such a beautiful experience, and we're so glad to be presenting this here at BAAFF this year. I'm wondering if you could, I'm going to sort of go from start to finish in sort of my trajectory of questions today. So maybe starting from the beginning, maybe Hedy, if you could share with us a bit about sort of where the story came from, what your inspiration was. As I understand it, it does come a lot from your own personal experiences.
Right. Well, so I just started, I got to a point in my life where I started to reflect on, just upbringing and environment. My family's in the Bay Area, but I've been in LA for a long time. And so I started to just combine these things that were floating around in my head together about family, about money. The LA setting, the actor who played Saren, Lauren, he actually grew up in the Pueblos. So with the LA background, it's really kind of based on his upbringing as well. And Lauren introduced me to Hisonni, and that's where all the magic began. I started writing the original draft, and I had it for a while. And, indie filmmaking is hard. It got to a point where I wanted to just give up because it's just so hard to, it was a fear of I'm not going to do it if I can't do it right. Even in a small indie way. Luckily, Lauren was like, hey, I know a guy named Hisonni. He seems to be very, very capable. And that's when this whole journey really started. So I'm going to pass it down to Hisonni now.
Well, as she mentioned, I'm one of those filmmakers that can make very little look like a lot. And it's a very suitable way to start out a film about the plight of the characters in the film, them trying to just make ends meet, turn a dime into a dollar. And I think my journey with this story started with Hedy coming to me, letting me know that she had, we were going to make this with limited resources, but her passion about the project is what really drove it. And of course, her personality. I knew from the moment I met Hedy that with this solid premise and her extremely unique personality, I'm talking the walk, the talk, the wardrobe, I had never met anybody like her before, so I knew I had a really good jumping off point. Because if I had never seen her before, there's probably millions of other people who didn't know a girl like this existed. So we were gonna do well just because of Hedy.
How different is Hedy from the actual character, from your perspective of?
Well, like with everybody, there's many different sides to us. When I first met Hedy, she, like Tera, wanted to present a side that she only presented the type of person that could be taken seriously. As we grew and worked years together, the sillier side came out, the side that needed me to reaffirm her greatness, essentially, that came out. So I've seen the nuances of her personality. She's a softie in real life, and Tera is very much like not.
Hey, mind my reputation. don't be saying that. I still gotta meet other people for work. Okay, so go ahead.
My bad. But she can turn the Tera on, especially when we need it. Hedy produced this film. She was very good at switching from lead actress to producer exactly when I was fatigued, when Bert was fatigued, MJ tired, or when we needed a miracle. Like with the music acquisition, Hedy spearheaded that endeavor and really did an amazing job.
Oh, that's great. And so just in terms of clarifying timeline, like how long ago was the script written and sort of when did you connect? How long ago was that?
Ooh.
It was almost 3 years ago now, right?
And it started almost half a decade for me ago. Yeah.
And then our together journey was like 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I think. So in movie language, that's super quick. But
yeah.
and we took our time too. Hedy, I think she had invested so much. She was like, what's another month or two to make sure the language is right, the locations are right, that her team was comfortable. She actually pushed the idea of comfort more than we did.
That's
so
fantastic.
That's a rarity in our business.
I love that. I love that so much. Yeah, it definitely comes through in terms of the it's so intentional. I like everything about it, and it definitely comes through all those nuances, Hedy. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So maybe Melissa and then Alberto, if you want to sort of share sort of how you got onboarded.
Oh, so Hisonni and Alberto, I host a screening in Las Vegas, and it's a screening of short films and it spotlights different filmmakers in town, and they submitted some of their work, and that's how we got to know each other. And I'm totally messing this up.
She always shorthands that. Susan, it is way bigger than that. I don't know why.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here, to clarify the record.
She holds a screening, a monthly screening series specifically highlighting female filmmakers and women of color.
Ooh.
And she is still a film student. She's in her early 20s and she's organizing that all by herself. She gave Alberto and I a platform, and we were so astounded by her ability to multitask and organize that I knew I wanted to ask her to be a producer. So go ahead, come on, don't be shy.
Tell us about your series. Tell us about your series. What kind of motivates you? I'd love to hear like more about that.
Well, it just feels like here in Las Vegas, and not to say anything about Las Vegas, but it's really hard to get your work out there in general as an artist. So I was like, where can I get my work out? How can I do this? And I negotiated a deal with Eclipse Theaters, which is a local movie theater in town, so that every month I have a platform, other people around me have a platform, and we can showcase our work. And it all worked out that way. And it's funny because like I went to Cannes Film Festival, and I was screening one of my shorts that I produced, and the guys reached out to me and they're just like, so we have this idea for you. And while I'm there, I'm here at like the biggest film festival in the world, and I love it. It's like, I can't wait to go back one day. But I'm just thinking, what am I gonna do next? What is my next project gonna be? And they're like, well, we have this story for you. It's based off a true story. It's an Asian American lead. We think you're gonna like it. And I like stopped what I was doing for the day. I read it all the way through, and I was like, yeah, I wanna be a part of this. Worked out.
Fantastic.
Contacted us from the beach.
Oh, wow. working remote, the true sense of working remotely.
I wish my story was as cool as that. I'm a local filmmaker here in Las Vegas. I've been producing, shooting like my own thing, like short films, working on other features here and there. Hisonni reached out to me through Instagram, was like, hey, I'm moving to Vegas. I'm looking for like-minded people. Let's get coffee. And that's pretty much how it went down. We got coffee, started talking projects, and next thing I know, we're shooting a couple short projects together. And he's like, I got this film, Takeout Girl. I mean, just hearing about it sounded really cool, but the whole time he kept going, you have to talk to Hedy. Like once you talk to her, it's all gonna like just click. And I remember the phone call with Hedy. At first I thought I had the wrong number, because she had such her demeanor and her attitude was so not what I was expecting. Like when I saw a picture of her, I was like, oh wow, she's so pretty. I was expecting like this kind of bubbly girl, and she's like just talking to me. I'm like, oh, did I call the wrong person? And she's like, yeah. She starts telling me about the project. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. Like this is going to work. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I mean, it's honestly one of the best experiences of my life. So I'm grateful to be here.
That's fantastic. Now, sort of how did you come to sort of the next steps in terms of you got the film made and you're bringing it to film festivals? I'm actually curious about how you heard about BAAFF and how sort of that connection ended up happening and how we ended up getting you.
You want me to take that, Hedy, or you got it?
Oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead. That's you.
Well, you guys are one of the top film festivals in the country for people of color, and you're definitely in an epicenter of like entertainment. The East Coast is huge. I had done my research and realized the quality of films you guys chose, and I wanted to be amongst those those ranks. But I knew we had challenges. Like on paper, this film shouldn't have happened. Me being an African American male telling the story of an Asian American female in her 20s, and then just this ragtag group of filmmakers going rogue and making this crazy story, like that never would have been greenlit in Hollywood. But for you guys to be as insightful and forward thinking enough to program us, the validation we get from that we can, because today everything hits a buzzword. We've moved from one type of exclusivity to slowly moving toward another, where like, if you're not exactly this type of thing, you are not right for this job. And we're going against the grain in that sense. And to know that at the end of the day, true collaboration is what you guys champion, and great stories is what you guys champion. Because we don't have celebrities, we don't have money. Some would argue we don't even have talent, but but we somehow made it work, because here we are at one of the greatest film festivals in the country, and just the morale boost from you guys choosing us is going to push us through our next film. So I thank you a lot for that.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I feel like you have found a home here. We definitely pride ourselves in kind of considering the filmmakers that we do choose to be part of the BAAFF family. So I think many of us in screening the film and hearing sort of more about the film, as we kind of dove deeper more into that it was such a perfect fit. You know, in many ways, BAAFF, similar, Melissa, your story about in Las Vegas about, you know, needing to create the space that didn't already exist to connect audiences and filmmakers together. Like, that's really what BAAFF is. We're not the typical film festival that caters to cinemaphiles, and you know, it's really about the storytelling. It's really about the artist and the process, and the the storytelling that we're trying to uplift, and really a holistic look at that from soup to nuts. And you represent so much of that, and we expect, you know, this is not going to be the last we're hearing from any of you, and hope that you do consider, you know, us, as you will end up growing into these great big, you know, moguls in the film industry. So
It's already done, Susan. It's we are submitting. You are going to be sick of us at some point. Oh, it's Hisonni and Hedy.
We love it. We love it. We're definitely like kind of like, you know, cousins, sisters, brothers, aunts, and uncles. Like, you got us all here. Can you tell us, I guess, a bit more about sort of how the film has been landing with the different audiences? Like, you know, specifically, we're an Asian American audience. Hisonni, you're as a Black director, producer. There's different circles, and obviously even mainstream festivals that you've also shared, or even just family and friends. I'm curious, sort of like, what are the different types of reactions that you've been getting from audiences?
Well, because we've been so virtual, it's tough to say directly with the audience, but the reviews have been great, and the few people who have reached out were great. We've gotten really great responses from the film festivals we've been a part of. We definitely feel like alumni. We feel like the film festivals really value what we've done, and once again, the morale boost. Film festivals in 2020 understand just how important it is to keep us filmmakers motivated. And we've been lucky enough to land with film festivals that go out of their way to do that. As far as like, this has been a terrifying experience, because we all kind of cut the cord and dove directly into this project and led with nothing but passion and heart and And then we thought about the consequences of what we were doing when the film was done. We were like, oh, wow, we kind of halfway check a lot of boxes. So submitting to the American Black Film Festival, I was terrified because it would mean that that film festival would have to take, and only reason I say that is because of the way we're shifting from one type of exclusivity to a different type. You know, by name, the American Black Film Festival, you would assume is a place where they want to champion not just African-American filmmakers, but African-American stories. So when I clicked the submit button, I was understandably concerned that we would get left out regardless of our effort, our merit. And shockingly enough, we got in, we got nominated for four categories. We were runner-up, and I won Best Director. So although it is 2020, I would like to tell every filmmaker out there, you can still believe in people. You can still believe in film festivals like the Boston Asian Film Festival to really judge you fairly based on what you've accomplished and what you put forth, just as much as who you are. So, and that means the world to us, because although the world may not necessarily, Hollywood is not the most fair place, there's aspects of this business that are truly based on your merit.
Wow, thank you. Appreciate those insights. Hedy, I'm wondering about more as one of the co-writers of the project and sort of also having the vision, sort of that mustard seed for the project. Sort of now that you're on this side of you know, finishing production and doing your festival circuit, how different does the film look from what you had envisioned in writing it?
It was way bigger than I ever imagined, because before I met Hisonni, you know, like, of course I had a lot of inspirations and reasons to do the film. On the practical end of it, you know, I was thinking, like, you know, my mom, she always goes like, you know, she's like traditional immigrant parent. And she was like, ooh, Hedy, you know, I know what you're trying to do, but, you know, one day you got to learn how to pivot, you know, and just, you know, sometimes you just got to learn when to quit. I mean, she said this all in Cantonese, but, you know, she's coming from a loving place. You know, you can't, you know, she's a worried parent. And so in my head, I was like thinking like, all right, you know what? Because a lot of my friends are like in the music business and they're artists, and, you know, they don't wait to get signed by a big label to make music. They already putting out their mixtape and all that. So I'm thinking like, okay, well, I'm gonna quit after I put out my version of a mixtape. Now, but my version of a mixtape before I met Hisonni was really like, all right, I'm gonna just, you know, because I have a lot of friends who make music videos or whatever, and I'm thinking, all right, you know what, my thing's gonna probably end up like looking like a student film, and that's okay. I'm gonna try to tell the best story I can, and, you know, and so it limited my first draft because I didn't think, I figured I had to do everything by myself. So it limited, like, you know, I can't write a story that big or with too much action because I wouldn't know how to film that. Or, you know, maybe my people didn't know how to film that. When Lauren introduced me to Hisonni and we started to rewrite the film, we kept all the main themes, but what he did was he streamlined it and brought out the themes of family in it. Because in my original script, I had a lot of different characters, and it was more documentary, Snow in the Bluff kind of style. And with him, I was a big fan of the changes and revisions he did because it was a lot bigger and cinematic. And I learned so much from working with Hisonni because, you know, I'm a first time writing a script, first time making this. And it was just a big education on, hey, and, you know, he's the king of indie stuff, you know what I'm saying? He won awards for micro budgeting and stuff. And so it was a lesson in, hey, Hedy, you know, we don't have a lot, and I know what you're trying to do, but this is how I see it. And I learned about, you know, like, we may not have gotten the locations we wanted, but he was, you know, telling me if the characters, if the actors are very LA, people are not going to even notice that you didn't film this in the Pueblos, you know, on the South Side or whatever. And I'm like, okay. And I just had to like trust, and, you know, he was the one with the more complete vision. And, you know, and you just learn a lot about making making this magic happen with not all the resources you thought you would have. But even then, I cried the first time watching the edit, because it was just way bigger than what I had imagined before I met him, you know? So, and my favorite part of the film is Act 3, all the way through, every minute of it. Like, and that's where, like, when we were doing 4 hours on the phone every day, talking about each scene that he was gonna, you know, say like, hey, we gotta take this out, da da da. When we got to the end, he, you know, he suggested a revision that he said, he claims that he was so scared to tell me this idea he had. But when I heard it, I immediately was a big fan of Act 3, because it was already building upon what I already wanted to, kind of like had already written, but he just amped it up another notch that I by myself could have never imagined, because before him, I was thinking like, I gotta pull this off on myself. So I gotta do within my capability. But him being, you know, being in the business for so long, he knew what he could pull off cinematically. So I became a big fan of Act 3, every minute of it.
That's fantastic. And I feel like you guys have this dream team where everybody's bringing different resources and talents to the table. And I'm curious to hear more, Alberto, especially from the DP side of things, some of the, you know, challenges and sort of visions that you even had in shooting scenes and things. Like maybe if you could even take us through one of your favorite ones that you sort of like mapped out for us. I'd love to hear more from you.
Sure, yeah. One of the definitely early on, talking with Hisonni, we wanted the film to have kind of like a rawness to it. We wanted to feel like, not really documentary, but there was a realness, like there was an authenticity to everything. So kind of the way I always look at it is like a diamond in the rough. Like there is this inherent beauty with the film, but we wanted to kind of like dirty it up. So we moved the camera a lot. And that was mostly because like, it's motivated by our main character. Like Hedy, Tera, almost in every scene, she's going somewhere. She is a woman of action. Like she is constantly like in pursuit of something. And to have that as kind of like a driving force through the film, it just made us go like, okay, well, we should move the camera. Like we should be like following, we should be going. And that was definitely one of the driving themes there with that. One of my favorite scenes that we shot had to be, there was a really big argument in, I guess it would be like the beginning of like Act 3, somewhere around there. But we decided to do like a circle dolly track and spin around that way. Being told to turn down my volume. I think someone else needs to turn down their volume. Melissa, can you turn down your volume? So one of my favorite things about that scene was, you know, we shot almost this entire argument in a 360 like rotating shot. And it was just so great because we kind of like really dove into the character's mental state. Like her world is spinning and falling up, like it's slowly starting to fall apart at the seams. And we're watching her with one of her closest, you know, people in her life, of a very dear family member, have this intense argument. And it's like, we literally take the audience on this spiraling, like visually, her life is spiraling out of control. And that was one of my standout moments for the film. Another one would be the introduction, like how we introduce our hero. Like there is kind of a sense of mystere and just following Tera on her hustle. Like, cause it's more about what she's doing than it is like, by the time we show you her face, you kind of already understand what she's about, who she is, her character, her attitude, what she's really all about. And then we get to show you her face, and then everybody's like, oh, wow. You know, so that was definitely something that, from a cinematography standpoint, I was really intrigued by and excited about when Hisonni and I were discussing it.
No, that's great. It definitely had these moments of intense personal connection through those shots. I'm curious too, and I know I don't want to have any like spoilers for folks who may be sort of catching this before they actually get a chance to see the film. But was the ending the only ending that you had envisioned, or were there others?
It was the only ending I had in mind, and Hisonni just amped it up and took it to another level where it felt I don't want to say like, oh, Shakespearean. It feels kind of Shakespearean, but it makes sense if you watch from beginning to end and you kind of put yourself in, you know, like, these are young people. These are people product of a very rough, you know, dog-eat-dog environment, you know? So when it leads up to a point, I think people underestimate, because people, you know, you see, you know, situations on the news or whatever, and you be like, why that happened like that or whatever. But if you truly in the moment, you understand heat of the moment type of, you know, and things that led up to it. So it's like nature versus nurture, heat of the moment, and where you are in your life. You know, to me, I was a big fan of it because it made sense. It made perfect sense to me. So
I actually, thematically, like we really push to send, like whenever you make a film, the first thing you ask yourself is, if you want the audience to take one thing from the film, what will it be? And one of the biggest goals for me was to write a female protagonist who was 100% in charge of her destiny and makes proactive choices. When I see a lot of female characters in cinema, there's a lot of happenstance. Like, this opportunity just fell in their lap, or it was someone else's idea. Every choice Tera makes, even down to the last frame of the film, was her choice. And we wanted to show that women have that sort of strength, because I know in my life, I'm surrounded by Hedy, MJ, and my girlfriend, and those ladies, they make choices. And they make sure you know those choices. I grew up with 4 sisters and a mom. I barely got to make any choices because they were always making all of them. So I only know one world like that. And it was very easy to tell a story from a perspective like that. I think we also wanted to push the idea of the grim reality of growing up in poverty and how far desperation will push people. Because if we could make her actions relatable, then after the film, people could have comfortable conversations talking about ideas of I don't know, the ideas of criminality and why people make the choices they make. Maybe we can stop over policing, things of that nature, and we can have those conversations comfortably, because I'm not talking about me and you, I'm talking about Tera and Lalo. And getting that distance is sometimes what makes it possible for people on opposite sides of an argument to have a conversation.
I love that. And I think that was the biggest part of what resonated. I think especially for me, just watching the film, to sort of recognize that these are all people, you know, bottom line, we're all humans, and we each have decisions we have to make, and we're not innately bad people, but we are in situations out of our own control, forces of nature all around us that impact the ways that we have to make decisions. Susan, and those are the things that we need to like really be focused on.
It means so much to me that jumped out at you, because that's like, we hesitated to call anyone in this film an antagonist because their intentions were not antagonistic. They were based upon survival. They were based upon doing what was right. Everyone in this film is trying to do what's right for their family. And the scenario was what makes it that way. Like, you know, makes it where they have to make these choices that 99% of the population just don't know about. You know, people are not black and white. I mean, we are, but in a totally different
sense, yeah. So now, I know we're almost out of time, but I'm wondering if you could share a bit more sort of about what's next and what your thoughts are. You know, people are seeing this here at BAAFF and maybe at other film festivals. Sort of like what else, you know, do you see for the film and what's in the future?
Hedy, you want to jump in first? Grab that.
I mean, you want to talk about the prequel idea, or?
Oh, well, we got.
Or I mean, I don't know. See, that's why you should have taken that question. You should have just taken that question. Back to you, buddy.
I'll give it a try. We are pushing really hard on the festival route because, again, we don't have any celebrities in this film. We just tried our best to make as engaging of a story as possible, and to have film festivals like yours champion our film, it's going to help. If we end up getting an audience at all, it'll be because you guys decided we were worth the spot. So we're going to continue to pursue creating relationships and sharing our story through wonderful wonderful entities such as yours. After that, the goal is to well, dreams change because of COVID, but we were hoping to get some sort of limited theatrical release or something like that. But if our audience connects with it through Hulu, Amazon, any of those streaming services, I think will be great. Hedy and I were developing a prequel to this based upon Wavy, the mother character, because when me and Hedy were writing this, we were heavily aware that Tera is actually, like, her story is 2.0. There's a small monologue the mother has at the beginning of the film that just makes it extra clear that everything, that's the great thing about this story. It's a story about mothers. Mothers are so awesome because they have the sweetest demeanor, they're beautiful, they are nurturers, but there is nothing you've done that they haven't done already. There's not a single mistake they've made that you've made that they haven't made already. And seeing Wavy's, once you see how the story unwinds, to be able to see a prequel as to how she found herself in that situation, how her children came to be, how her restaurant came to be, is really, really beautiful. And we actually submitted that to a pitch competition, and we are now semi-finalists. So who knows? We may be able to actually make that. Alberto Triana is having his directorial debut with a short film and then a feature film that we go into production on early in 2021. MJ will be producing both of those. I have a short film coming up before the end of the year. Alberto and I are gonna shoot them back to back. We're gonna treat them like one production and just do shooting back to back and then post back to back. So we're staying busy. And I think Hedy has an amazing supernatural thriller that she's developing.
Yeah.
That is a comedic in nature, but also like suspenseful in nature, that if you get a chance to hear the pitch, like, I encourage it. Like, take the time and hear it because it's a beautiful story.
Oh, well, we look forward to hearing all of this, and Hedy, especially like because BAAFF usually falls around Halloween, and thrillers are always a great opportunity for us to showcase. Can't wait to hear more about all of your projects. Please do keep us in the loop. One note too, you know, you have mentioned that you depend on sort of the endorsement from film festivals, but we also through BAAFF wanted to make sure folks know, those who are watching it through BAAFF, you'll have a chance to actually vote on this film for an audience award. So you will please be sure to make sure you click on the button where you clicked on the film. There should be a link right there next to it that will take you to the audience ballot for you to vote, and let us know what you think. So share some love with Takeout Girl.
Please.
Thank you all for joining us today. We are in deep appreciation for the time that you've taken to make this film, to share your stories with us, and for us to have this opportunity to spend more with you, to learn more about the whole background in making the film. It was beautiful, and we're in all great appreciation of your work.
Oh,
Thank you
so much,
Ben.
Susan.
Appreciate you, and you guys are amazing.
Yeah, thank you for having us.